Welcome in the yet another episode of Humans of Mitikiran podcast series. Today we have Mr. Elvin Paulos, an Indian student in South Korea. He is a PhD scholar from Yunpok National University, Daegu. He is a red belt taekwondo player and a focused electronic engineer in the field of human behavior prediction, and activity recognition. Let's discuss about his life, challenges, and the journey in the South Korea. So, welcome, sir, in the podcast series of Humans of Mitikiran.
Thank you, Akshida. She already introduced myself. I'm a PhD student from Korea, and I like to express my thank you for this conversation and this podcast. Thank you, everyone.
So, sir, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm very good.
So, to make this session more interactive, let's begin with our questions. So, sir, first tell us something about yourself, your education, and your family background.
Yes. My name is Alvin Paulos, and I'm from south side of India, the state Kerala, and I did my masters in Christ University, Bangalore. So after that, I got an opportunity to come to Korea. So this is my fourth year of my PhD, and everything going okay. And my family, I have one brother and my mother, and my father passed away 3 years ago. And my brother, he's doing also PhD in electrical engineering. He is also with me. He is in my same university, and he's also continuing his research.
So, sir, there are lots of countries like UK, USA, and Canada from where you could pursue your research work. But why you specific choose South Korea? There is any
Yeah.
reason?
The one thing is that my master university, Christ University, we have some collaboration with my Korean university. So I got information through my HOD, head of the department, ma'am. She gave the details of this university, and she told there are some opportunity for PhD position, and you can try. So from that information only, I started to know about the university and the possibility of a PhD studying here. And also, as compared to other countries, like for my major electronics engineering, Korea, I feel Korea is the best place for my career, and also like based on technology areas or job opportunity and everything. Korea can give more better opportunities and or good career for me. So I selected Korea, and I got all information and the procedure, everything through my Master University, Christ University. From there, I applied, and I got my supervisor from here, and I came here. So that was my journey to come to Korea.
So what was your first experience learning Korean? Like it's different language other than your English and your native language. So what was your first experience when you started learning Korean?
Yeah, it was very fun when I sit in my first class. So when my Korean teacher, she started to teach the it's called hangul, the basic letters. So when I see it's everything something like some lines and everything, it was like very fun for me. Like I was thinking, oh, what to do with this? Like it's totally different language. So like from south side, where like our language, my mother tongue Malayalam, or I can also understand Tamil and little bit Kannada also. But as compared to this language, like when I came to Korea, it's totally different, and the Korean language, the writing and the pronunciation, everything totally different. So starting it was very difficult, but my Korean teacher she was very good. She had so much patience, and she explained everything. So slowly I started with the basics, letters and reading and listening. So now I can manage, not very good in Korean language, but I can survive in Korea with my Korean language skill.
I can totally relate it. When I started learning Korean, my father told me, "What are you doing? These are the lines and the sheets. This is you call this language." So it was
I just
different, completely different.
yes, yes, it's true. And there are some small similarities with the Chinese language, but this Chinese language is too tough. And also Chinese and Japanese also some similarities. Their writing and everything, some similarities. But Korean is totally different. But some similarity maybe we can see, but it's the writing and everything is different. But it's a different experience as compared to any other languages.
Yeah, I started learning Japanese also. And it was so hard that I gave up. That I don't want to learn it. It's so hard.
Yeah, the starting, yeah, Japanese also very tough, but Chinese language is like my experience. Chinese language is the very toughest one. Yeah, if you know Chinese, you can easily relate with the Japanese language. Yeah, but Korean is totally different. Korean language.
So there are lots of electrical engineers who want to know about your research work. And as an engineer, I want to know about the scope of engineers. So tell us something about your research work and the scope of engineers in South Korea.
Yes. Then my research work, I'm doing research on indoor localization. It's called like identifying the user position in indoor scenarios. Like as compared to, we already know about GPS, global positioning system. It easily work outside, like easily we can track. But when it comes to indoor, like inside a room or inside a building or a tunnel, it is difficult to identify the user position. So in that case, we need another technology or another method to identify the user position or track. So for example, in a very complex building like a shopping mall or something like a very big parking area, we have to identify our car, or this small examples. So in that case, we need a technology. So that is my research area, my main research area. And also I'm part of like human activity recognition. Like my project goal is to identify human activity like walking or sitting or standing or running, this type of basic activities. And our final goal is to identify the human behavior based on our position and our activity, identify our human position. Like for example, if we consider a living room in our house and we are sitting in the sofa, and we can predict most probably we are watching the TV or supposed to reading newspaper, this type of activity we can predict. So that is our final aim of our research. So currently we are working on these research areas.
So what is the scope of engineer in South Korea?
It's for depends on the major. Like for a electronics and electrical engineer or computer science also, Korea is one of the best place we can tell. Like also they will give a very good salary scale as compared to any other places. And we already know the companies like LG or Samsung or Hyundai, the origin is from Korea only. So we can imagine how much opportunity we have here. And only one thing is, like, if you know the language, Korean language, it is very easy to explore. But without Korean language, still it's not a very challenge for here to work. And but the other type of majors like business or management, that type of majors, it is very difficult. Or even also medical field, the students, if they come to Korea for study, it is okay, but to work in Korea, they have to face so many challenges, because first thing is language, and the medical field, to get a license is also you have to clear Korean level 4 or 5 language level. So these are the challenges for them. But as an engineer, like electronics engineer or computer science engineer, working in Korea is not a very difficult work or a very difficult challenge. But we can easily get job, and also the career growth and the industrial experience is totally different. So it is a very wonderful opportunity for the engineers if they like to work in Korea.
So my next is education is one of the backbone of in every country. So what do you think that Indian education system can adopt from Korean education system?
Yeah, that is very interesting thing we have to consider. Like as compared to Indian education system, the Korean system is totally different. Like here, if we consider like a engineering point of view, like engineering branches, they focus more on the practical implementation instead of studying so many theories. And from the first year onwards, they are specialized in some topic, some research areas, and most of things are research oriented as compared to our education system. But we can tell, like our IITs or some NITs also, they have a research oriented education for our engineering background, but not in other normal universities like state universities or some private universities. They are focusing on theory oriented lectures and classes and assignment exams and this type. but not like in a research oriented way. So that is the major difference as compared to the other Indian education system and Korean education system. So we can, I think it's very good if we adapt the Korean way of research oriented education system to our Indian education. It's very, very good, and the students will get more exposure, and they can easily identify their career track and their path. That is the one thing. When I was studying in India, so I was struggling like which path I have to go. Which one is the direct path or the best path to achieve my ambitions or goal. So that training is like missing these days. But when if you come to Korea from the bachelor undergraduate time onwards, they will give the training for that. Okay, they will make you understand, okay, this is the best way to reach your ambitions or your goal. So that is the only major difference I can notify. And also the system, education system and everything little bit different, and also the grading or credit system and marks and everything, totally some difference are there. And but here most probably they focus on practical oriented and research oriented studies instead of studying everything. So in an Indian engineer, in the first year of engineering, they have to study everything, all subject. Even if we don't want to study, but we are not interested in that subject, but still we have to study everything. But in next stage, that was a wastage of time. But here, when we consider the area or the path is directly written, okay, you can do this way. And here is the research oriented based on like a very good faculties and professor oriented. So professor will give good direction which way you have to go. So that is a major difference.
I think for an engineer, practical language is more important than theoretical language.
Yes.
So, sorry, theoretical practices. So, sir, you belong to a beautiful state of South India, Kerala. So, and now you are living in South Korea. Do you find any similarity between South Indians and the South Koreans? And if there are any, so what are your opinions about it?
Yeah, that the starting we have some cultural difference. And also the food and everything, the way of Korean food preparing and the way of eating, and the most interesting thing, how to use the chopstick. That is also very interesting. It's like 1 week challenge. I had a 1 week training how to use the chopstick. My colleagues, Korean friends, they showed me how to use the chopstick. So that was the first challenge.
Very
And when we yeah, it was okay. I was trying with some peanuts. I was moving the peanut from one box to another box like 1 week every night. I was practicing this. So slowly I learned. It was not very tough. And when compared to culture, there are similarities. Like here also the Korean culture also family oriented, like in Indian culture, but not this generation. The older generation, they are like very stick with their family and family oriented. And also they give respect to elder person. That is also very good. I mean, in India we have the same system, we respect our elders. So that same scenario here. And also age is also very important matter here. So if the person is elder than you have to use different way of Korean language as compared to your same age or lower age colleagues or your friends. So between friends you can use very short form, like not a polite way of Korean language. But if it comes to see elder or senior person, and there is a very polite form of expressing your language, that is very important here. And also there is eating together or traveling. These things are also similar with our culture. I didn't feel any difference. And yeah, like the way of usage of language, we have to be very careful. It's not like just learning the Korean language and you can show it to you can speak to others. That is not true. You have to be very carefully understand where to use the language in how the which way. So if it is an elder person, or if suppose it is my supervisor, I have to use in a very polite form. So polite form is there, and again very polite form is there. So you have to be very careful that. And for juniors or our same age persons, we can talk very casual talk is okay. So that is one thing, and respect to elders, and yeah, these are the main similarities. And these days, like, yeah, the young generation, they are changing, they are following the Western culture as compared to Indian culture. So yeah, these are the main difference or similarities we can tell.
It is important to like where you have to use formal language, informal, and the standard formal language. There are three different types of languages you can say in Korean also.
Ah, yes.
Can vegetarians survive in South Korea?
That is very challenges for a vegetarian. Like here, the Korean foods, starting you have some problem with the Korean foods, like to understand the taste and everything, and to find what type of food. But later you will be really like, it's like very delicious and very amazing food. You can experience different level of food experience from the Korean food. And for a vegetarian, it is very tough. It's very tough to survive in Korea. But still, I have some friends, they don't eat any non-veg. So vegetarians are there, they are cooking by themselves. If to go out and to find a vegetarian restaurant, to my understanding, I didn't find any vegetarian restaurant here. So during preparing time in the restaurant, you have to tell, okay, I can't eat meat. So they have to prepare in that way. Still, it is very difficult. Most of the restaurant, they provide only meat, and most of the restaurant, they specified on one type of food. So vegetarian is for a vegetarian, Korea is a big challenge for them, but still they can survive. Not a big deal, but it's very challenge.
So you were migrated from India to South Korea, right? So I read somewhere about, and I watched some blogs also, and the blogs that they mentioned that when you migrated from one country to the another, you have to face some types of discrimination because of your country, your religion, your face color, or your face because of your color. So do you face any types of discrimination in South Korea, and what is your opinion about this?
Yes, that type of discrimination, like even I had the same feeling when I came to Korea. But personally, I didn't feel any type of discrimination here until now. I didn't feel any type of discrimination. It depends on maybe the person's point of view. But mm, to be honest, I didn't get any bad experience. Like until now, I was okay. But there are so many cases like discrimination happened in here or there. But my personal life experience, I didn't get like they are very helpful, and if you need any help, they're ready to help. And my for my research or my studies or anything, I can ask to my colleagues, my Korean friends. They are very okay. And when you talk with the elder persons, you have to be very careful. So that is the only thing. Maximum try to like keep a distance with the very old people. There are some people, they are very friendly and everything, but some people, like, they are not very friendly. So in that case, you have to understand, okay, better to give a distance with them, that type of thing. So dealing with an old people is like my experience. Dealing with an old people was a little challenge, but youngsters, they are very cool, okay, and they are very welcome to foreigners. Especially they like India. They like to watch Indian movies also. Bollywood movies, they are crazy. I think most of the Koreans, they watch Three Idiots movie, so they start to talk about this. So these things are like, for them, they are very fun. I mean, the Bollywood songs, for them, they can really enjoy, and they are very welcome with this culture. And here majority, like around 50% Koreans, they follow Buddhism. So they also think like in India the Buddhism originated. So also they like the temples and Indian culture. So, and also Indian music also. So they are not very away from the Indian culture or Indians. And here we have so many Indians. So for Indian, I didn't feel any discrimination or racism. But generally, for foreigners, they have some type of discrimination. Like some places you will face some discrimination, like foreigners and Korean. But if you know the language, how to deal with that, it is not a very difficult challenge.
Before going South Korea, you have to learn Korean language. It is most important thing.
Yeah, yes, at least every day around 15 minutes to 20 minutes better to practice and just get a basic idea. And it's learning language depends on each person's skill. So if you how much time you spend for learning the language, that depends on like how you can use the language. Just like a tool, like just use it very good way. So you can is without language is also not a very tough or challenge for here. And the youngsters, most of the youngsters and university students or the workers, the industry also, they can speak English. Here basically they are very aware about the language, grammar and everything. Only they have only the problem with the speaking, so they are shy to speak. So but these days, like the children, they are very good in English and everything. They have so many international schools, they are focusing on English language also. So in future also language will be not a big problem. And also depends on the city. If you are in the major city, the capital of Korea like Seoul, no need to worry about language. Most of the persons, they can speak English. But if you move to the outside the city, like a village or rural area, then you have to face the language problem. So they can't speak English. And also after some, yeah, these days most of the boards and everything you can see in English, but previously it was in Korean. So even in bus or how to use the bus or map and everything, starting you will face some challenges or some difficulties, but later you will be used to, and it's not very difficult, as you can easily manage that.
So what was the biggest challenge you faced during your initial days in South Korea?
The first challenge, like working culture, yeah, that was the very challenge for me. Like it's totally different here. The Korea working hours is totally different as compared to India, and you have very high work pressure. You have to understand how to balance that work pressure. So work culture was my first shock. So I sometimes I have to work in weekends or morning to night or midnight, so maybe some sleepless night. These are like part of work. So work culture is there, like most of the industry and everywhere. Minimum 8 to 10 hours are like normal working hours, and if you work more, it's like you have to they will pay a lot of money. Like salary is not a problem here. If you work hard, they will give a lot of money. So you have to adaptable with your lifestyle. Like you have to balance your personal life and work style, work life. That was the big challenge for me. And also language in the starting, to identify the food, that was another challenge. So what I did, that I just went to the restaurant and I don't know how to read. So I just showed with my hand, I just pointed one this food, okay. So every day I change different food, and I wrote in my in a paper like, oh, this food is like this type. So similar way, within 1 month I identified, okay, I can easily understand which food is there. So slowly I took some time to adjust with that food. That's not a big challenge. I mean, if you are open with it, you can eat. I don't have any person any restriction with any food. So I can eat any type of meat or any food. So I was okay with the food. The eating Korean food was not a challenge. And the culture, I don't feel that much. Like it's like normal life. Like if you lived in a metro cities in India, like Delhi or Bangalore or Kolkata, like most of Mumbai, or yeah, most of like that type of lifestyle only, not a lifestyle in rural area. So most of that lifestyle, youngsters, they are very good, and yeah, they are ready to mingle with us. So that was not a big challenge. So I think work culture was the toughest part for me to adjust with the Korean lifestyle.
What is your favorite Korean food?
Korean food, we call it chimtak. It's made by chicken. So it's I don't know how to express that food. So it's like a soya sauce and some noodles and the chicken. So there is a rice cake. We call it tapoki. So rice cake is there. So they mix everything, and it's like one type of my favorite food. But I don't know how to express that food.
No problem. So now you know about the different culture, to different countries, and to different people of different countries. So now have your opinion changed about India after living in South Korea?
Sorry.
Now you are living in two different countries. Like you
Yes,
know
yes,
about
yes.
the two different culture of the two different countries and the two
Ah,
different people. So now
yes, yes.
have your opinion changed about India after living in South Korea?
We can't tell like opinion about India. Like India, my nationality is India, Indian only. So I can't tell that opinion. But as a person, I totally changed. Like when I came to Korea, that time 3 years ago. This is my fourth year. So 3 years ago, what I was now completely different person. My point of view and everything totally changed. That Korea made me so many changes, also my work style or also my knowledge and my point of view and everything totally different. But when I was in India, like I was in a very comfort zone. So that is the main thing. We have everything. We have friends, we have relatives, we have family. So we are in a very comfort zone. We don't need to worry about anything. But when you move to a foreign country, you are alone. So you will face so many problems that you will never face in your life. So but as point of like everything is good. Like we can't tell like this is good or Korea is good or India is good. I can't like differentiate. Like India gave me a lot of good experience and everything. Like for me, India is everything, and Korea gave like a better to make me a better person. So I can't differentiate both. Like I can tell Korea is my second home.
Okay, sir. So how studying in South Korea has impacted on your future plans and the role you imagine the Korean language can play in your next steps?
Yeah, yes. So my future plan, I never expected I will come to Korea. It was like within very 3 months. Yeah, within 3 months or 4 months, it happened. So I did everything. I contacted a professor and I got admission. I got full scholarship and everything. So it was a turning point. So my plan was to work in Bangalore in some industry when I graduate. But suddenly everything changed. I came to Korea. So now the next is like next year, next semester, next year, March, April, my graduation, my defense will be there. So after that, most probably I have a plan to continue here some more years. I don't know how long I can stay, but for me, better to stay here. Like one reason, Korea, I can manage in Korea everywhere. I can do what I want. But if I move to a different place or different country, I have to start from zero. So as a person, I feel I'm more comfortable in Korea. And Korean language, if you know the language, you have the advantage. If you don't know the language, so you can manage, you can live here. It's not very tough. Like no one can speak English. It's not like that. Depends on the place, depends on where you work, so you can easily manage. But I prefer better to learn the language, at least basics, so you can manage in a restaurant, or if you want to buy something from in a shop. So better to know the language. And one another interesting thing, if you know the language, the Koreans will take care of you very very good, and they will treat you like their manners and their approach is totally different. If you know the language, they think like, okay, the person learned our language, so that you will get more respect and also more opportunity. So that is the major advantage. If you don't know the language, always we will be silent. We don't know what is going on. So we have to be like just keep and quiet. So better to learn the language as much as you can. And if a person he has a plan to migrate, like to get a PR or something, then better to focus on Korean language. He has to clear like level 5 or 6, or like it's very tough. So or yeah, and at least 10 years work in Korea also. There are some I'm not sure more details about that. So if you have 10 years of work experience in Korea, they have so many advantages, something like that.
So what the misunderstanding the Indian people has about the South Koreans?
The misunderstanding, yeah, so many things. When I applied to Korea and I told with my friends and my relatives about I'm going to Korea, they were in a shock. Like everyone asked like, why Korea? Why Korea? Like why you can't do any other places? So like most of my friends, they tried Canada or New Zealand or Australia. So they're like everyone they were in a shock like why Korea, and in my village I think I'm the one person came to this Korea. So it was like a surprise or a shock for everyone, all my relatives, all my friends. So that one thing, so that attitude I don't know, like it depends on person by person. Like we don't know the more details about Korea, and also everyone confused with the North Korea and South Korea. So it's totally different, and we don't have any connection with the South Korea or North Korea. So we are just sharing the border and totally different. So everyone thinks like, okay, North Korea, South Korea is part of North Korea, something like that. It's not safe. Anytime war will be there. But to be honest, in the world, Korea is the best, safest place for a girl. So like as compared to any other place, like first maybe Japan is also very safest place, and also Korea is also very safest place for any person. And that was the one thing I experienced. And also there are so many assumption about like food and everything. They think like Koreans eat a snake or some type of dog or this type of things, but it's totally wrong. Here they don't eat snake or dog. Eating dog meat is illegal here. You will get punishment from government. So this type of misunderstanding is still it is there. So if someone thinks about Korea, first they think, okay, you guys eat a snake or dog or any type of the food, that type of things and everything. So that's one thing. And the other thing, it's Korea is not a safe place due to that North Korea issue. But that is also another thing. So these are the major two misunderstanding I faced when I tried to come to Korea.
Okay, sir. So many people want to know about how you apply for your further studies in South Korea. Any suggestions and the tips process that you want to share with our viewers?
Yes, that's most of the Indian students, they are not aware about how to reach Korea, like how to find universities or how to get the admission. So you have two options. One is Korean government will provide a scholarship. It is called KGSP. Then if you applied through that scholarship, like you can do for masters or PhD. So first 1 year, the Korean government will teach you the Korean language. It's like completely free, and even also they will give the flight ticket price also. And 1 year they will teach you Korean language, and monthly you will get some amount of living expense and everything. So after that you can do the masters also. So for doing masters, you need 3 years, 1 year for Korean language and 2 years for your studies. And also PhD also possible, like 1 year for Korean language and 3 or 4 years for PhD. The government will provide everything. Government will provide the health insurance, and also some other things. Even also they don't want to pay the tax also. So this type of advantage are for KGSP students. And the other one is you have directly apply to the university. So first make a list of universities in the Korea and go to their website. So they have both version, Korean version and English version for the website. Just go to that English version and go to the faculty profiles. So based on your major, like electrical or electronics or computer science, based on that major, check all faculty profiles, and from there identify the research area that you like to work. So from there, find the supervisor, find the professor name. So make a list of professors and every day send email to the professor. So some professor will respond, or some professor will inform, okay, we don't have the vacancy for this position. Some professors are interested on your biodata. So contact that professor through a very good CV, with a proper plan. Then if the professor is interested on your CV and he is ready to take you, they will do an interview. And also if browser is okay, then next you can apply through the university portal. Just the university will open an application period, you can apply for that. And also just some procedure only, that's visa procedure and everything, then you can continue here, you can come to Korea.
Okay, sir, that was an amazing podcast with you. The experience, I think, I'm sure that experience and the process you share with us will help a lot of people. So thank you so much, sir, again for your time and for your experiences that you share with
Yeah,
us.
yeah, and I also want to tell my gratitude, and I want to express my thanks to everyone. So this was very wonderful opportunity for me, and it is also, I feel okay. It's very good to share the experience to the Indian students or someone like to join, like to come to Korea. That's also very good experience. So thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. This was very wonderful experience for me.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.